Hello, everyone. This is the Black Republican Theory. And on today's show, we're going to talk about what I call democratic mind control. Today's video essay is in regards to Black women, the media, and the upcoming election in 2022, the midterms. There is a quote attributed to the admirable Felicia Rashad that says, "Where the women go, the culture goes." If you want to take out a society, group, or influence cultural behavior, you go with the women in that group and you go after the women in that group. Nowhere is that more on display than the United States of America. Every election year, there's a constant onslaught against the minds of Black women. The powers that be on both the left and right know who and where their power base is. Sadly, they have been able to take your vote without even asking. Imagine a random person coming to your door and saying, "Give me your money and let me decide what to do with it." You have the power to invite that person in or to send them on their way. For Black women in this country, the option has too often been to invite them in and to allow them to exert political havoc on your home and to invite them back in. I ultimately think and relate this back to psychology and the media. So in 2021, philosopher Steve Hassan came up with or published a dissertation called The Bite Model of Authoritarian Control. In his dissertation, he argued that there are four methods that cults use to implement and exert mind control over their followers: behavior, information, thought, and emotion. I believe that this is the method by which Black women are bullied by hook and by crook to vote for their own detriment. The B in BITE stands for behavior. Those in power will regulate your behavior in order to control your mind and actions. Most notably, there's the regulation of one's physical reality. Think of this as racial covenants and property deeds implemented at the turn of the century that found their way into modern day zoning laws. Have you ever noticed how many neighborhoods remain historically white or historically Black? This is only an invention of the last century created by the social engineering of white supremacy using the tools of redlining and zoning. The tool of redlining was first approved under Democrat Franklin Roosevelt's Federal Housing Administration. To this day, it has had the most detrimental impact on Black home valuation. Other aspects of behavioral control are deprivation of sleep and regulation of diet. This too is attributable to white supremacy. In the 1950s and 60s, many urban areas underwent a policy of urban renewal. To set the stage for you, during the Great Depression in the 1930s, American freedmen, the descendants of American slaves, fled the South in what was known as the Great Migration. Many sought job opportunities to work in the ports of the American North. Cities like Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, and Boston boomed with Black folks moving in. Other Black people were forced off their land by the KKK, zoning, eminent domain, and other tools of government and white supremacy. There are also the stories like my great grandmother who fled Greenville, South Carolina with her son to come to Baltimore after stabbing a white man attempting to rape her. Once in the cities of the North, Black people were forced into neighborhoods with other Blacks and immigrants from Europe. The Great Depression made things 10 times worse for Black people in terms of their economic well-being and housing opportunities. Then, to spur the economy, the United States entered World War II. President Franklin Roosevelt signed the GI Bill, which provided government funding for mortgages to soldiers returning home. Black soldiers who fought for the freedom of those in Europe returned home to segregation and the tyranny of Jim Crow in both the North and the South. Some sought greener pastures and more freedom by moving out west, but no matter where American freedmen, the descendants of slavery in America, in the United States went, so did racial discrimination. To put this in perspective, when Hitler was crafting the policies of Nazi Germany, he studied American apartheid, the Jim Crow and the Black Codes, and he thought it was too harsh. White troops returning home were able to purchase homes in suburban neighborhoods and away from the noise and pollution of the urban core. In the urban core. In 1949, Democrat Harry Truman, and in 1956, Republican President Eisenhower authorized loans to municipalities to acquire urban quote unquote slums and build highways, which by the verdict of the Berman v. Parker Supreme Court case was deemed to be any neighborhood the government saw fit, even those that were in admirable or non-blighted condition. Using this power, local governments began to take large swaths of Black homes and drive highways right through them, or even worse, let them sit vacant, cutting off access to grocery stores, medical facilities, schools, replacing them with noisy thoroughfares, trains, highways, and the like. By the way, noise pollution contributes to pollution contributes to child development. So now let's apply this research to the behavioral voting patterns of Black women. On May 14th, 2022, white supremacist Peyton Grandin live streamed the execution of 10 Black people. He willfully, purposely, and knowingly chose that location of the top supermarket because of the number of Black people. Anyone who has read his manifesto rag of literature knows that he chose that location because it was the only grocery store for Black people in that area for miles on end. He chose that time and location for that same reason. He told the public why he was committing this massacre in a publicly published manifesto. Yet the left and right wings of political machinery in this country has chosen to ignore this. They have shifted the conversation from being an anti-Black hate crime, as the shooter, murderer has even admitted himself, to just another act of gun violence. Black people were just sitting ducks in the Tops grocery store because of a history of redlining and social engineering, which limited their options of where they could attain groceries. This is the regulation of diet in physical reality, in the behavioral model of mind control. Further, those in those areas have noted that this is near a busy part of town where Black people are sequestered together, meaning that the noise level and the street level and everyone trying to get away impacts those that are closest. Think about this in the realistic terms. When an AR-15 is shot or used, those shots will be heard outside the building. It will make a loud noise. Think about the trauma that will happen to the children that were within earshot of this massacre. The answer here is not gun control. It would be to create more access to guns and affordability for those who are lowest class and need the most defense. But the left wing of political machinery wants to gin up your emotions, making the connection to gun violence away from being an anti-Black hate crime. And this is a purposeful action by government and the media to change your focus before the 2022 election so that you can vote blue no matter who. You may have noticed the barrage of media attention given to gun violence. Whether it is the Uvalde shooting or the most recent Tulsa shooting by Caribbean immigrant Michelle Lewis, targeting an American Black surgeon, Dr. Phillips. The media has most certainly decided to focus in on guns and on gun and the use of guns, except when they are used against Black people in mosques. This is an attempt to control your behavior and disarm you, which leads to the next form of control, information. Media on the left and right are owned by the same large investors. The information that these investors feed large corporations to divide and conquer Blacks away from all other groups, and sometimes within the same culture of American freedmen. MSNBC, The Root, and CBS have the same institutional investors as Fox and News Corporation. Yet, have you ever noticed how you tend to go to the same media and news sources for your information? This is called cultivation theory, whereas people will go to the media sources that will reinforce their set of beliefs, whether those beliefs are true or not. Moreover, it has already been publicized as recent as 2010 that certain media sources, particularly those in Black media, like the Griot or Radio One, now called Urban One, are paid to push one message: vote blue no matter who. Kathy Hughes, this woman right here, who owns Urban One Media, owns the most radio stations catering to Black America. Yet she pushes the same vote Democrat rhetoric every election cycle, even if it means that Black people will lose out. When you hear the same message every day, it will eventually become truth. This leads to thought control, the T in the bite model. This is the installation of Black and white thinking, not in the racial sense, but in the sense of believing either one or the other must be truthful. Case in point, either you believe that abortion is a net positive or you are a sexist, or you believe guns are bad or you're a homicidal maniac. Neither of the extremes of diametrical thinking are absolute truths, but the media, political parties, and even those who are associated with who you are associated with on social media will reinforce that line of thinking. Margaret Sanger, this woman right here, let's see if I can find a better picture of her right here. Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, was a devout eugenicist. She believed that the greatest thing that could happen to Black people were to exterminate them before they ever got a chance to live. Planned Parenthood now offers more services than just abortion, but even its most recent president, Dr. Lena Wynne, right here, and here's another article to prove my point, guys. Let me minimize this. But even its most recent president, Dr. Lena Wynne, admitted that she was fired because she didn't push abortion enough in the age of COVID when people were quarantining out of health concerns and the birth rate was dropping already. The anticipated overturning of Roe v. Wade through the Dobbs v. Jackson Medical Center case in 2022 has pushed the left media to connect everything to access to abortion, even the baby formula and mothers stealing baby formula to provide for their children. So why frame it in that fashion? It is to connect your thought patterns and your behavior to your voting behavior. And this right here is a quote from the current president of the Planned Parenthood Federation. Margaret Sanger harmed generations with her beliefs. In our second century, Planned Parenthood has a chance to heal those harms. Reckoning with Margaret Sanger is one thing. We also need to reckon with ourselves. Think about that for a second, guys. Lastly, there is emotional control. This is like the abusive husband playing on your emotions to push you to vote blue no matter who, time and time again. And how is that done, you might ask? Think about this for a second. In the past 50 years that Black people have had full citizenship guaranteed by legislation, how many token Negroes have been placed as Black faces in high places? Shout out to Kamala and Katanji. Yup. As long as I got my sister girl in there, she's going to do something to help me. Yet even Kamala Harris openly admitted, I'm not going to do something. I'm not going to sit here and admit that I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No. And even worse, Judge Ketanji Jackson has put that into action. In the 19 of 20 cases of Black employee discrimination that came before her as a judge on the DC Circuit, she decided against the Black people 19 out of 20 times. She has even sided against Black people in the case of Ross v. Lockheed Martin, where Black people were facing racial discrimination at the company's manufacturing headquarters in Mississippi, including verbal and physical harassment that the company admitted, and she prohibited them, the Black individuals who formed a class action lawsuit, from settling the suit because Judge Jackson thought it was too beneficial for the Black people. Yet in February, Judge Jackson's appointment was symbolic in nature to get you as Black women to vote Democrat yet again. Don't think that I'm giving any pass to the right wing of political machinery. They have by and large shown that they do not care about the Black vote. Only recently has any political figure on the right has even made a serious effort to get the Black vote. In fact, there's a constant effort to ignore the Black vote and moreover, to move on to Hispanics, who some in the media have already deemed the great replacement of Black America. Shout out to Joe Biden in his discussion with the NAACP that was publicized in 2020 and 2021, and Ann Coulter, who published that as well. Black men have had to bear the brunt of various white supremacist systems through, mass incarceration, the war on drugs, and even health outcomes. Even still, they have shown the willingness to diversify their vote more than Black women. So the onus on changing our communities falls on Black women. And like Felicia Rashad said, where the women go, the culture goes. Thank you guys. That has been the Black Republican Theory. And that's my video of the day. Bye.